Welcome, everybody. My name is Mina Jane. I'm the director of the Ashland Public Library in Massachusetts, and I'm super happy to be here with Leelynn Brady, sometimes Leelynn Reads, for our monthly discussion about inclusive and diverse books that Leelynn is enjoying and would recommend to you to read as well. Before we get started, I wanted to say thanks to the Friends of the Ashland Public Library for supporting all of our programs, and to Leelynn for letting us share this program with other libraries, because, libraries like to work together. If you have books that you're reading and enjoying, feel free to put them in the chat. If you have any questions for Leland, feel free to put those in the chat or in the Q&A. I will be paying attention to that, and I will send out a list of all the books recommended by Leland tonight after the program. So you don't have to furiously be taking notes. You'll get that list soon, later tonight. So, Leland, thank you so much for being here. I know it's been a rough week for you or so, and I'm glad that you were able to get some reading done.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. So I purposely am talking about myself today because it's my birthday tomorrow, so I'm gonna be a little selfish, but
Wait,
just
show
letting
up.
you know.
Show
Yeah,
up.
oh yeah, my happy
Yeah.
birthday crown. So I'm gonna start off with my childhood, and my brother was like, "Why don't you do some manga?" So I'm gonna start with Sailor Moon, and this
Um,
is not only is this the start of the manga, one of the re-releases, but Sailor Moon was one of my favorite anime growing up because she was a very powerful Sailor Guardian. She had to discover that she was powerful in her own right, even though she was a crybaby, right? They would tease her for crying and showing a lot of emotion, but she had to discover that she could kick some butt and she had a close group of friends and they're kind of surprised at the type of people that she was friends with because they were they wouldn't be seen together normally. It was like there was a really smart bookworm, Sailor Mercury, and then Sailor Mars was a shrine maiden. Sailor Jupiter was like a really tall, tough girl, and everyone was afraid of her. And Sailor Venus, and they're just totally different types of girls, but Sailor Moon was able to make friends with all of them. And I feel like I'm the type of person that can make friends with anybody because I just love being friends with everybody. So Sailor Moon reminds me of me, and that's why I started with her because I always wanted to be a Sailor Scout. I always wanted to have magic powers, but also she is what made me love fantasy is what I feel. So Sailor
mhm.
Moon.
I also think that Sailor Moon was one of an early anime hit here. You know what I mean? Like now,
Yes.
like it's kids are watching, people are watching anime and reading anime and manga and all of that stuff. But then it was very, very little. And so when Sailor Moon like burst onto the scene, and all of a sudden everybody's like, "What is this?"
Yeah, Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, but Sailor Moon I feel like is what started a lot of little girls
Mhm.
watching anime. So for real. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
and you know what I like about Sailor Moon as well? It doesn't shy away from being pink. You know what I mean?
Yes. She's girly.
What a girly, right? So I love that because I feel like, we can be whatever, you know?
Exactly. I
And
agree. She loves being girly. She loves wearing her like skirts and makeup, and she loves eating too and taking naps. Like she's just herself. She's unapologetically herself, and I love that about Sailor Moon.
and she likes her pastels and she kicks butt. So like
Ex-
I just I'm so glad you brought that up.
Sailor Moon,
Sailor
yes.
Moon.
So my next one is Forest of Souls by Lori M. Lee. I had read this when it first came out, in 2020. This is the first book in a trilogy. The main girl, Saoirse, and her best friend, Ashlyn, they are in like a military kind of school, and they are supposed to be fighting against these other groups of people. But something happens to her best friend, which ends up opening up her powers because Saoirse was never supposed to have powers. And then she finds out that she is like the most powerful shaman born person in this world, which is wild. But the one thing that I really love about this book is the friendship between Saoirse and Ashlyn. Books like this where they have a really close friend relationship between girls, is what I love specifically, which is why I chose this book. It doesn't really have romance in it. There kind of teases to be one between one of the princes or whatever, but like the whole reason why Saoirse's magic comes to light is because something traumatic happens to her best friend. And it's like, it's one of those friendships where it's like, I will kill for you, I will die for you.
Mhm.
So I'm like, those are the kind of friendships that mean so much to me. And the way that Laurie M. Lee did it in this book was just so powerful. I think the third book came out either end of last year or the beginning of this year. So it is now a completed trilogy, but Forest of Souls is amazing. The author is Hmong, so one of the very few Hmong authors that I've ever read. And when I was doing a fan cast, I picked Brenda Song because she's also a Hmong actress and one of the very few that I've come across as well to play Saoirse. So
Uh,
Forest of Souls.
so couple questions. One
Yes.
is that would you consider that a middle grade book?
No, young adult fantasy.
Okay. And so Saoirse and Iceland are both very Irish names. Is it it's like Irish lore or is this some other you said Hamon, right?
Yep, it's Hmong. It's based in Hmong fantasy, actually. So
Oh,
even though their names are very much not, like you said, it's Irish
mhm.
based, they're not, it's not Irish based fantasy. It's actually Hmong based.
Oh, interesting. Can you talk a little
Yeah.
bit more about that culture? Like, where is it located? What is it pretty prevalent? I mean, you said you haven't really found a lot of books and people that are Hmong.
Southeast Asia, people compare it maybe a little bit more to Vietnam.
Mhm.
Like Brenda Song is Hmong in Vietnam, I want to say. And I forgot to write notes on this, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But they compare it more to Southeast Asia. They are the indigenous people to that region as well. So it's not a very I guess I would say it's not a very prevalent culture that a lot of people see or talk about, really. And it's not as popular as like a lot of East Asian, like Japanese, Korean, Chinese. So you don't see them a lot in either film, media, literature. But they do have some similarities in that aspect with a lot of their religion, a lot of their familial ties as well, and just how family is one of the main institutions in their lives. So, um, one of the main features in this book that was inspired by their Hmong culture is the elements of shaman born. So they have the shamans are based on different elements. So like the elements of life, death, light, and then fire, air, stuff like that. So they have different sub-elements to that as well, and that was tied into their culture, their
Love
religion.
that. I love it. I really enjoy the fact that you find these books. And this particular one was when you were, younger, but you find these books that people are not hearing about.
Yeah, I think that's why I was really called to it too, because I'm like, who would have thought that? I think, yeah, because she's written other books before, but she's never touched upon her heritage. And now that she had that platform to do so, I was really glad that she did because now she had that um, ability to be like, hey, I'm going to talk about my own heritage and my own culture
Mhm.
in this book, and I'm going to do so without worrying about what everybody's going to say.
I love it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. I know I too many questions, and you want to get to your 8 books.
No, no, you're good. The next one is The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan.
Mhm.
This one definitely reminds me of my mom and my grandma. I love the movie and I love the book. So, Chinese American, well, Chinese, and then they immigrate to America. The four moms immigrate to San Francisco. So it's a story about the moms immigrating and then the daughters learning about, well, not really learning, but they're trying to navigate whether they are Chinese enough or too American, I always love those types of books where there's that conversation of are you too much of one or not enough of another? And even again, the mother-daughter relationship. I don't remember if the ending to the book was different to the ending of the movie when it comes to one of the moms and the daughters, but this one means a lot to me because the story just makes me think about my family and the women in my family and how strong they are and how much suffering they've had to go through. Maybe not as far as immigration, but just dealing with being a woman and having to take care of their family and the men in their lives and just being moms. And even though I'm not a mom, I do think about like, do I pay much heed to my culture, my Chamorro heritage, my Japanese heritage, or am I Chamorro enough? Am I Chinese enough? Stuff like that. So this one calls to my childhood as well, even though I read it as I got older.
Mhm. Well, like Sailor Moon, that book was one of the first books, the first authors really well known that were talking about the Chinese perspective in a way that Americans, really kind of paid attention to. And I loved the movie as well because it was the first time I saw Chinese women or Chinese people playing themselves,
Yeah.
in a non like, how some movies
We
before that just made, it was very, very stereotypical,
Right.
or not
Yeah.
stereotypical, but like how Americans, viewed Chinese people.
I know what you're talking about. It was like caricature like.
Yes.
It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
It was very much real. It was their stories. And that's why I really appreciated the movie too. It brought them to life in a way that was real and authentic. And I might watch that when I get home now that I think about it.
Maybe I will too.
Yeah.
All right. What's next in your life?
The next one is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I think I read this one either this year or last year. This is an adult Black contemporary romance. This one is about a couple named Yasmin and Josiah. They are separated or divorced. They have two children, and the reason why they went through a divorce was because they had a miscarriage, and they just could not see themselves coming together, but this ends up being a second chance romance for them. And they're also business partners because they own a restaurant. So it was them not only Yasmin and Josiah end up going through therapy, which I was really happy that Josiah ends up going through therapy because a lot of times men see therapy as just not manly enough or they don't need to do that. They just need to hold it in. But also seeing that Yasmin was able to find herself, her new self, after losing so much of herself and her lost child and just trying to get back to what's good for her. And, um, seeing if they can make it work again, even if, and just finding love again. And for me, I think that was just really inspirational because they went through such a traumatic experience and with their children not understanding. I mean, they understood what happened, but they don't understand it from the adult's perspective, right? You just have the kids reacting to what happened with mom and dad, but also still going through their pain and having to talk about it and then just lots of family dynamics as well. And then the friendships that Yasmin had with her two friends, Hendrix and I forget her other friend's name right now, but I love, again, friend dynamics with girls and just making sure that those friendships are solid. And this is an adult book for me, but it just makes me feel like I hope that I have adult friendships like this in my life, that where I can just count on them for whatever is going on in my life, good or bad. So I really love this book. My first
So,
Kennedy Ryan book.
um, I love Kennedy Ryan, like just amazing, amazing writer. But her book, Long Shot, broke my heart. I couldn't read her for a while. Have you read it?
No, no, not
It's
yet.
rough. It's really rough. It's beautifully written, wonderful story, really hard. So when this book came out and now the trilogy, I was like, I have to read it because I love Kennedy Ryan, and it was so good. It's so good. So I think I'm totally with you, and I
But
love
I've
the
heard,
cover.
yes, I've heard the long shot was making people kind of sad. So I think that's why I purposely didn't read it yet.
Yeah, there's a
So
lot of trauma in there, but the cover about this is that I really love is that she does not shy away from somebody who is black. You
Yes.
know, like the color is dark, the hair is big.
Yes. Yeah.
She's just gorgeous.
Look at that. I love
Yeah,
it.
I do too.
She's so beautiful. I kept looking at the cover when I was reading. I'm like, oh, I can't get over it. So
Same.
beautiful.
When it first came out, I was just like, I need a poster of this.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The next one is Tokyo Ever After by Emiko Jean. I hope I didn't share this one yet, but this one, oh my gosh, it's this young adult. The main character, Izumi, she goes by Izzy. She finds out that her dad is actually the crown prince of Japan. And so she ends up going to Japan to learn more about her dad because her dad ends up finding her and she meets that family and she has to make a decision on whether she wants to be raised as royalty or go back to being just regular Izzy. And, you know, what does that mean to be royalty, especially Japanese royalty? Is she Japanese enough? Yes, I know. I know, one of those again. But I really love this one first of all because I love being Japanese. I love being a princess in my own little world, and I've always wished that I could be a Japanese princess, and I got to be when I read this. And I loved that Izzy got to have a relationship with her dad. Like, even though she didn't realize who her dad was when she was growing up, because at the time, she wasn't allowed to because they had to protect the identity and, royal issues, right? When her dad found out, he's like, no, I want to have a relationship with you. Can you come with me so I can get to know you? And that made me really, really happy because I didn't have such a good relationship with my dad. So this was kind of like my fairy tale, like, oh, I wish I could have had a good relationship with my dad. Maybe not be an actual princess, but like this would have been like the perfect father-daughter relationship. Even though she did have some sketchy family members, because they're kind of like, oh, you just want the money. And she's like, I don't care about that. I just want to get to know my dad. But I love this one. It's YA, Japanese American, but I love this one.
It sounds like the Japanese Princess Diaries.
Exactly, exactly.
Good. I love having a reference to these things.
Except her dad is alive. So,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's what I liked about it too, because she doesn't have to find out that her dad's dead. He's actually alive and she gets to have that relationship. Uh, this one is The Island of Sea Women by Lisa C. This
Lovely
was
to see.
me too. This
I
is my
think
first Lisa C book.
this month you've like totally hit every nail on the head for me.
Oh, yay. Okay. Yay. This one is about the Jeju Island women. N- I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but they call themselves the Hanyo. There you go. So they dive for the not clams, but they dive, and it's the women are the ones that do the work and they fish and they dive. So the men are the ones that are watching the children and stuff. But this is historical fiction. It takes place during the 1930s and 40s, so World War II, Korean War, but it's like almost like a multi-generational story of what's going on the island of Jeju. And this was, again, my first introduction to Lisa C., also my first introduction to Korean historical fiction as well. And I just was really inspired by Jeju Island itself when I was reading this. And yeah, this made me want to read more of Lisa C. and want me to read more about Korea itself and even just historical Korea, like Joseon era, even though this wasn't Joseon era.
Mhm.
So, um, some more mother-daughter relationships as well.
Yeah, no, I love her writing and her storytelling, basically. She just writes amazing stories.
Yes, she does. One of my favorite authors. This one is The Next Best Fling by Gabriela Gomez. I hope I didn't share this one. I don't think
I don't
so.
think so.
Okay. This one came out last year. This one's definitely one of my more adult ones. It's adult Latinx. This one is romance, and she's a librarian. So I've always wanted to be a librarian as well. I love books. My mom instilled a love of reading in me. So that's why I've always wanted to be in the library world. I used to work at a library back in Virginia at Suffolk Public Library. So I got to dab in it a little bit. But basically, our girl, Marcella, was in love with her best friend, but he ends up getting engaged to somebody else. And this guy is her best friend's brother. And the guy that her best friend gets engaged, or the girl that her best friend gets engaged to, he has been in love with her for many years. So they almost like ruined the engagement party and they're like, no, 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 we can't do that. So they go home together. It makes it seem like they had a relationship or like a one night stand. So it's kind of a fake dating trope thing, but then they end up like having a fake relationship that turns into a real relationship and they just find out that maybe they're a little bit more compatible than the other two. So I really liked how they were able to communicate with each other in this story as well. And I love that Marcella is also is more curvy as well. Like she's chubby, she's chunky, she's comfortable in her body. And Theo, yeah, I think his name, yeah, Theo, he's an ex-NFL player and he like loves her for who she is. He never makes her feel like she's so big or anything, but the best friend would. And he like worships her. And I'm just like, yeah, Theo. So like I just love love like that. So this is one of my all-time favorite books. Gabriela Gomez is one of my favorite authors. A book, Kiss Me Maybe, just came out from her, which was queer romance between Marcella's best friend and a bartender. So read that. It just came out. It was so good.
I will. I'm actually reading Olivia Dade's
Oh,
rom-com.
I gotta read that one. I
Yeah,
gotta read
it's
that one.
I had it on my TBR pile and we started talking about it in my romance book club the other night and I was like, I have got to read this. And it's hilarious. It's so funny. Also has a female main character who is curvy and she's just kick ass. I love
I
her.
feel like Olivia Dade's almost all of her main characters are plus size, and I love that because
Yes.
she writes them really well. So I
Yes.
have to read that one.
I'll have to send you a link to a program that I did with her and Sierra Simone, Julie Murphy, and Denise Williams about body positivity and romance. It was
Yes, please.
the best. I will. I'll send that to you. I'll send it to
Because I love all of them. I was
everyone.
gonna say because I love all of them. So,
Yeah,
oh
no,
my
it was a
gosh.
really good talk. So, sorry, I didn't mean to distract you.
No, no, you're fine. Because this is my last one, so we made
Okay.
good time. So this one is going back to like the beginnings of me going into being a bookstagrammer, actually. So this is A Constellation of Roses by Miranda Acevedo. I haven't seen her writing in a while, so I hope she does go back into writing. This was one of the first books that I did as a book blog or a bookstagramming thing. Trix McCabe, she kind of has some magic powers of being invisible. Like she can be seen if she wants to be. She goes through she goes through some issues where she has to live with some long lost relatives because her mom is not in the right mindset to take care of her. And she feels like she belongs, right? When she's living with her long lost relatives. But then something happens where her past situation has to come back to disrupt everything. So now she has to decide whether she's going to move on with her life and stay where she is and start to move forward and take care of what she's built, or does she continue to run and do what she's always done and stay hidden? So, um, this, yeah, this book, I read through it like in one night. I was just so mesmerized with it. And this was, yeah, this was one of the books that really made me really glad that I had the opportunity to read it as an arc. And I really wish that I had the opportunity to interview Miranda Acevedo because I was just like mind blown. I was just like, oh my God, where did you come up with this? And I really hope that she continues to write because I think I've only seen two books from her so far, and I just thought this book was one of the most beautiful books that I've ever read in my life. And I wanted to include it because again, it was one of the books that really reignited my love of reading again recently in the past 10 years of me being on Bookstagram. This is young adult. Trix McCabe, I want to say she's Latinx. So, yep, it's a Latinx rep. Yep.
I have not heard her, but it's does she have have you tried to reach out to her?
Not recently. I'm wondering if I should actually. She shared my post on her Instagram when I posted it the first time, so I thought that was cool.
That is cool. You're like a celebrity fair there. What made you, since that was one of the first books you picked to bookstagram about, I don't know what you call it, but why? What, like you probably read a lot of books at that point. What made you pick this one?
So I was part of a book tour with the previous book tour company. I had read the synopsis of it and I was like, oh, this sounds like something that I would be really interested in. Sometimes the synopsis can sound really good, right? And then it'll be up my alley and I'll love it. And then sometimes it's like, oh no, it was a dud. But luckily, I want to say that I've learned about my reading tastes very well in that I'm able to kind of read a synopsis and say, I know I'm going to like this book.
Mhm.
It's very rare where I'll read a synopsis and go, oh, this is not it. Or where the synopsis sounds really great and then I'll read it and go, this is not what the synopsis said it was going to be about at all. So I've learned about my taste in that way. I do also try to make sure that I go out of my comfort zone too, because I never want to just pigeonhole myself into what I'm used to, because then I'll prevent myself from reading something that I might not realize I like. But that's what it was with this. And also the cover, just like the roses. I thought about my grandma. Her name is Rosario.
Mhm.
And I was just like, I don't know what it is about it. And I was just like, I think I'll like it.
Mhm.
And then I ended up loving it.
So one last question. What's at the top of your TBR pile now?
Oh, actually, I am reading X's and O's by Amy Lee.
Uh-huh.
And it's so funny because the main character is a bookstagrammer named Tara Chen. She's half Chinese and she is trying to have a second chance romance. She's been dumped 10 times. So she's trying to see if any of those exes will lead to a second chance romance. She is rooming with a firefighter named Trevor, who is also the previous roommate of her sister's fiance right now, and they're finding that maybe they're actually starting to like each other. So I'm like all for that. But I'm loving this one. So this is what I'm reading right now, and I am in love with it. But I'm laughing because Tara does kind of remind me of myself, how she's like pretty intense about certain things and how she's like a romance fiend. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah. Like I'm thinking just like you, Tara. Like you and I are the same. So that's on my list.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Leland. I really appreciate all of your recommendations and also like as we talked about a little bit earlier, how you personalize them. You know, like a lot of people talk about book recommendations, but they don't talk about how it affects them and or why they picked it up because it reminded them of their grandmother or things like that. I really appreciate that openness that you bring to book recommendations.
Thank you. And wait, I have to ask you what's on your TBR.
Well, I told you I am reading the rom-com by Olivia Dade and
Okay.
really enjoying it. And I'm actually moderating a conversation with this author named Heather Bartos at Love Struck Books at the end of June. And she wrote a
Okay.
book called Quickies. It's nonfiction. It's about women taking back their sexuality or their sensuality and
Oh, okay.
sort of letting go of old crap and
Yes.
accepting yourselves and understanding that even after 50 you can be sexy.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
I'm reading that and it's good. I have to figure out how I'm gonna talk about it. But I did this weekend, this Friday, I went to Love Struck Books and met Julia Quinn of Bridgerton fame. And I was
Wow.
supposed to meet Catherine Center the next day, one of my favorite women's fiction writers, and I wasn't able to go, but it
Oh.
Boston seems to have just become a hub of wonderful, wonderful author visits.
I'm gonna have to go. Just make this live in person one day.
We should. That would be so fun. If you're ever in the
Yes.
area, come on,
Yes.
I'm your person.
I will. I'll let you know.
Awesome. All right. Well, I hope you have a wonderful night and happy reading, everybody. And I will send out that list and the video to everyone. And I'll see you next month, Leland.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.